Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to another driver ratings video. It is the day after race day, which means me and Stephen sit down and we rate the drivers on the grid with a rating out of 10 with their race performance. And wow, what a race that was.
Yeah, unfortunately I missed it, but I heard Italian Anthem was back playing at Monza yet again. I've got my Ferrari top back to winning ways. I thought 2020, 2021 was out of the question. But is the Italian team bringing it home in Monza yet again? Come on, Ferrari. I don't know if it's Charles or Vettel yet, but I'm sure I'll find out soon as we rate them. Driver of the day, I'm sure. Fantastic result.
Well, let me just stop you there.
Yes.
Now, what shirt am I wearing?
That's the AlphaTauri one, or Toro Rosso.
Well, it's Toro Rosso, who are now
AlphaTauri.
And where are they based?
Well, I guess they're technically based in Italy. Well, they are based, yeah.
Yeah, and wow.
But come on now, Ferrari won.
This is going to be hard for you to take, but both Ferraris retired.
Sorry?
No Ferraris finished the race.
Were they just playing the anthem for the fun of it?
No, because Pierre Gasly won the race. What an incredible race that was. The best race of the season, and we'll talk about it in the race review podcast. Just shows the importance of having a competitive race all through the field. How exciting was that to see a real kind of, fight for a race lead at the end of it. It was just, yeah, absolutely incredible. It was brilliant to watch. But today is all about the drivers. So me and Stephen are going to jump into the driver ratings. And Stephen starting off with Williams. Obviously, sad weekend for Williams. Claire steps down at the end of this weekend. Member of the Williams family will now no longer lead the team. And it's a sad day for F1, and I couldn't muster any points, but a P11 for Latifi wasn't bad.
P11 for Latifi and P14 for George. So we're going for, I'll start with George Russell, beaten by his teammate in a race. It rarely happens. Only really happens when he retires, but clearly beaten like Latifi today. Not sure why. I think it may have been strategy.
I think it might have been the pit stop. I think Latifi pitted pre-safety car. I think he got ahead that way.
Jumped him. So it's kind of just an average 6 for George for today. Didn't do much. Was just, couldn't really make any progress. Whereas Latifi, on the other hand, he's beaten the Ferrari power cars in the Haas, the Alpha, and his teammate. Yeah, he got fortunate from the safety car, but he still held on to P11 in the end, overtaking Kimi towards the end of the race. So 8, I think, for Latifi. Best race of the season for him. P11 on merit, kind of. On as much merit as he can get. I know, the penalties or safety cars or red flags. He's in P11. It's an 8 out of 10 for Latifi. A good score for him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Good drive. Solid drive.
It was.
Didn't really see much of them again, but yeah.
No. But yeah, Williams, it is an end of an era. It's an end of a chapter. There is still a long way to go for them improving, and hopefully the Williams name still being kind of a strong one within the world of Formula One from there. But we move on to the second team.
Yes.
And that is Ferrari. Worn by Stephen. Both no ratings for today's race because Sebastian Vettel had a brake failure, managing to get it to the pits. He was able to retire there.
This is a whole lap without brakes.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then through Parabolica, it was a really nasty crash. We were both like, oh my God, when Charles Leclerc hit the barrier, because it's scary moments, I suppose. Obviously, with Antoine Hubez's incident, whenever you see a high-speed crash, your kind of heart goes in its mouth for a moment. You're like, oh my God. And especially, you know, Monza, we know it's such quick exit.
Yeah.
He just seemed to lose it. I don't know if he had any tyre issues or whether the brake, well, it wasn't under braking at all, so it wouldn't have been that. It was under acceleration. He might have just lost it, and because that Ferrari is so god-awful this year, it just snapped and just threw him into the wall. Thankfully, Charles Leclerc got out okay, but
it was like really disappointing actually, because he was looking very good. I think that was just after the first safety car. And I think he jumped both the Alphas going into the first chicane. So he was looking actually very pacey in that Ferrari, surprisingly, and then just disappointingly lost it.
Well, Charles Leclerc, we've seen at times when the Ferrari has allowed him to be competitive, is one of the most talented drivers on the grid. That is hands down, without a doubt. He is. He's already a star. He's not even a future star anymore. He's a star of the sport. Unfortunately, he's in a car that doesn't allow him week in, week out to perform that his ability goes. And yeah, it was, like I said, just thankful that he got out of the car. But no ratings for the Ferrari drivers this weekend.
So, moving on to Alfa Romeo.
Yep.
I shall jump up to them. Giovinazzi came into the pits when they were closed. Driver error, team error, probably a mixture of both. Gio had to have seen those signs, and his team should have told him. But after that, we didn't really see Gio, because after he served the penalty, did a bit of rear gunnering for Kimi. But after he served the penalty, that was his race done in rock bottom last.
Wasn't having a great race anyway,
No.
to be fair.
To be fair, yeah. He was being by Kimi. 4 out of 10 for Giovinazzi. We're giving him kind of, yeah, just another disappointing race for Gio. Kimi, though, on the other hand, he ended up finishing P13, which when he was running in P2, it kind of sounds bad. But Alfa Romeo gambled after the red flag and went on to the softs. Kimi was looking fantastic. He was like, oh my goodness, Kimi's got a podium here. Could he be challenging for a race win? And then the softs just went. Well, it was a combination of the softs just going and everyone else realising there's a Ferrari in the back of that car. And Kimi just was dropping all the way back, all the way to P13. So it wasn't really his fault in terms of performances, but when he did have the performance, he did look great once again.
I mean, what we've got to say, after that restart, he flew. He overtook Lance Stroll on merit and then held P2 for a number of laps.
He was
and his wheel-to-wheel racing was... Yeah, he almost went Gasly before, because that was on the first lap before Hamilton pitted for the stop-and-go penalty, wasn't it? So, yeah, it was a brilliant race from Kimi Räikkönen, though his position doesn't justify it.
Yeah, we're going for a 7. 7 out of 10. Because you can't really judge on the whole race because the performance went. So just a 7 out of 10 for Kimi, but a great race for him.
Certainly is. We move on to Haas as another team, and that was with Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen. Kevin Magnussen, well, something broke, I believe was the radio message on his car.
Oh, something broke.
And that brought out the first yellow, second yellow, because didn't Sebastian Vettel bring out the first yellow? No, he wouldn't.
First yellow.
Charles Leclerc
was Magnussen, yeah.
Or was it? And then, yes, it was red flag because of Charles Leclerc.
Was closed.
Correct.
So, Magnussen, 10 out of 10 for giving us the best race in a good few years.
Absolutely. But realistically, it's a no rating for K-Mag this week, unfortunately for him. He's had torrid luck this year, and this race was another bad luck with it. His teammate, on the other hand, Romain Grosjean, finishing in P12, doing a decent job for Romain Grosjean, stayed out of trouble. Alex Albon received a 5-second penalty, didn't he, for...
trying to take him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think he even made the move on Grosjean, or did he?
I think he did, but yeah, then...
Do you think they had Hungary in the back of their minds going, maybe we should have done something there, and then this time it was like, we actually should give Albon a penalty.
I mean, yeah, that is the instance.
We'll
Those
touch on
two,
that when we come to Red Bull. But
yeah, those two definitely had history in that one. But Romain Grosjean, I think a decent race considering that he would have received damage in that instance. So it's a 7 out of 10 for the Haas driver. Obviously come under a lot of criticism this year, and it's still not stand out. That Haas car still isn't great, and rightly I think Romain Grosjean has been criticised, but praise needs to be given when he does have a good race and proves that, you know, the guy is a very talented Formula 1 driver. We just don't see it consistently, but this was one of his good performances today.
Yeah, definitely.
Who
should we...
I think it's Renault.
Renault
next up.
The guys, we thought this was their best chance to get a podium, especially Daniel Ricciardo. They looked very good in Spa. They're going to strip even more downforce off that car and beat the Red Bulls to that podium spot. Never really materialised in the end. 6th and 8th for them in the end. And yeah, it's kind of, in the grand scheme of things, 6th and 8th seemed a pretty good result for a midfield team. When you have McLaren in 2nd and 4th, a Racing Point in 3rd, now Ferrari in 1st, it kind of takes away from it a bit. But both of them had solid races. They got the best from what they could. Ocon, we're going for a 7 out of 10. And Ricciardo, an 8 out of 10 for beating his teammate. And just getting the best result he could have done, really. The safety car and red flag didn't really play into their cards. But, you know, they did what they could, really. We didn't see much of them. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't really say much more on that.
No, they just solidly did what they could have done.
I think Ricciardo had a very good first start.
It was in the pit stops that he got unlucky because he then fell behind Bottas and then couldn't get ahead of him for the rest of the race.
Oh, actually, his overtake on Bottas into the
Ascari chicane,
that's the one,
was unbelievable.
Quality, yeah. So 8 for that. You could even go for 9 on that overtake. It was quality. Very, very good. But didn't really see much of Ocon, but a solid race from him. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then move on to Red Bull. Funnily enough, Stephen, we're obviously mixing up teams in these driver ratings. We usually tended to go in constructor positions, but we now just kind of throw it all in terms of
just
performance
based on
in the
race
race.
Position, yeah.
Yeah, so Red Bull, funny enough, it falls on me. Max Verstappen, easy one, no rating. Car got retired on a precautionary measure with the engine. Apparently the engine was going to have an issue, so they retired him before it would have failed on him.
Yeah.
And very frustrating for Max Verstappen because, you know, it was a rare race that Lewis Hamilton didn't win. And if there was any chance of Max Verstappen being able to catch Lewis Hamilton this season, on days like today, Max Verstappen needs to win the race.
Yeah.
And Red Bull hadn't really been on it all weekend. Qualifying, they weren't on the second row. They seemed a bit off the pace. They were struggling on that front. It just wasn't to be.
Even during the race, Max, it didn't look like Max would have capitalised on it anyway, because he was stuck, I think, behind the Renaults, I think, after the restart. So yeah, just not good. Not good day for Max, but no score because engine failure. Don't know what would have happened.
Exactly, and we now move on to Alex Albon, and it's a difficult one. Look, obviously we've been harsh on Alex Albon. He's going to get a 5 out of 10 today just because he's a bit unlucky. Well, not necessarily unlucky. Obviously, it materialised this week of Helmut Marko going, they're not driving with the same parts on the car, so, you know, it's been really tough on Alex in terms of that. Mine is, you've got to make your own luck a little bit in these situations. We've seen, let's not lie, that's happening to all the kind of drivers in the top teams on the grid. I certainly feel like Hamilton would get preferential treatment on stuff. I know Mercedes kind of make it out a little bit closer in divide there. Look, I don't know what is the significance there on what the performance has been for Alex Albon. But he's done okay. And he got damage after an early collision with Gasly in turn 1. I think they touched wheels.
Yeah.
Gasly's, it was just kind of classic turn 1 instance. There were too many cars going into the corner, as it is in a race start. and Albon was unfortunately one of those who came off worst. Damage was quite severe, which prevented him from doing anything in the race, so it was difficult. Got that 5-second penalty with Grosjean, which is, you know, his car clearly wasn't in a competitive state at that stage, so it's just 5 out of 10 because you can't really rate him highly or lowly either way on this one because his car was damaged, so it definitely was unfair to judge him on this one. But there certainly will be pressure coming up from higher up on the grid from a certain driver. I think you know who we're talking about later on in this race. But who do we move on to now? Racing Point?
Yes, let's go on Racing Point. Checo Perez in 10th. He qualified so well. Was looking very good at the start. He lost position to... No, he didn't lose position to Sainz. He took Bottas. Was looking good in 3rd. And then just lost out to the safety car and red flag. And that was basically him. He couldn't make up any ground later on though. So I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10 for Checo. You could argue a 5 out of 10, but I'm going for a 6 out of 10. Lost out to the safety car and red flag, and then couldn't do much, but had a solid first in. On the other hand though, Stroll, P3. Although
2 career podiums to his name now.
2 career podiums, but the race win was there for him to have. That didn't sound great. It was his to lose. He's a great starter. It was a stand-in start for the for the restart. All he had to do was come out in 2nd after the first corner, and he would have won the race. What does he do? Fluffs the start, will spin, and loses all the positions, and I think falls back to 4th, and then falls back to 5th, and then I think climbs his way to 3rd.
Yeah, he lost out to Kimi.
Yeah.
Gained the position with Hamilton and the stop-go penalty, and lost out to Carlos Sainz as well. Yeah,
and then climbed his way back up to 3rd.
Maintained the gap to Norris reasonably well, though.
Yeah, he got a podium, but he had a lot of luck to give him that podium race win shot. But because he didn't get the race win, and he should have, it's not a 10 out of 10, it's a 9 out of 10. But solid.
It's still an incredibly impressive performance from Lance. Just going to go. And look, these opportunities for those midfield teams are far and few between. And he still found a way of getting on the podium. Yeah. He will be frustrated that he wasn't able to get that race win. But then if we look at where Checo ended, maybe the race performance wasn't there in the Racing Point. And maintaining a gap, obviously Checo lost out to Lando Norris at the start of the Grand Prix as well. So the McLarens were technically running in a P2, P3. So, you know, keeping ahead of Lando Norris and maintaining a comfortable gap there was actually pretty good from Lance Stroll. So it was a good performance still, but it's a what could have been. So yeah, P3 is a 9 out of 10 for Lance.
Yes, yeah.
Certainly is there. We now move on to McLaren. And wow, the pace of McLaren. The big surprises of this weekend were Renault, because they'd done so well in Spa. Ricciardo was chasing down Max Verstappen at the end of Spa, and we're going, wow, they look favourites. And you know what? Daniel Ricciardo, if he had the pace that Renault had at Spa, you would have bet him to win that race for Renault, wouldn't you? But apparently he just wasn't there for Renault. But for McLaren, switch fortunes. I mean, Carlos Sainz, you think, would have probably had a good race. Lando Norris, a P7 and a decent P7, the previous week in Spa. But again, a strong race, finishing P4 for his number 4 on the car. It's a great performance from Lando Norris. I don't think he could have really done too much else in it. And I think it's an 8 out of 10 for him. One of those guys, unlucky, wasn't a benefactor of the yellow flag. And then obviously subsequent red flag from there. Because he probably would have got a P3. And it probably would have been a double podium. But teammate Carlos Sainz was just brilliant this weekend. Qualifying on the second road, qualifying in P3, immediately took Bottas at the start, would have finished in P2 on merit anyway, and just needed one more lap to get Pierre Gasly at the end, but he just ran out of time. It's a 10 out of 10 for the Spaniard though. Absolutely superb performance by Carlos Sainz today.
Yeah, it was just ran out of laps at the end. I think it was literally just one more lap because he was 4 tenths behind, and you'd reckon he would have done a lunge into the first chicane and tried to make a move stick there. But yeah, so close yet so far, I think his radio message was. And yeah, solid 10 out of 10. Best result for Sainz. And he's looking at that Ferrari going, yes!
I can't wait to be in Ferrari
if I'm
next year.
just in a better car, these race wins are going to be easy. Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Carlos, I mean, things can quickly change in Formula 1.
Yeah.
Although he probably wouldn't have been buoyed reading the headlines that Binotto said it might take years to recover.
Yeah.
But you hope for the sport that Ferrari don't take that long to kind of do it, because it feels weird having double retirements and Ferraris finishing outside the points.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to hear the Italian national anthem again, even though it wasn't a Ferrari one. It was good to hear it, and you just go, I miss this.
You do.
I miss hearing this. I miss them winning.
You do.
But yeah, there we are. Now, second to last team normally is Red Bull, but we're going to the toddler team.
The toddler team. Hey, I like to drive Formula 1 too.
That's the word that came out, the sister team or whatever.
Accept it. That's what you're getting. You know what you get from us. It's random F1 fanatics. Deal with it. Toddler. Go. Hand off.
AlphaTauri, Pierre Gasly and Daniel Kvyat. I'll start with Kvyat. It's finished in P9 in the end. Obviously, he's finished, his teammates won, and he's finished P9. You go, terrible result, but I think Pierre benefited a bit more because he pitted before the first safety car, which put him in a good position, whereas Kvyat didn't pit. That's where the gap was. And it's a solid double points finish for them, and Kvyat solid in 9th. That's where you expect the AlphaTauri to be. So you can't really mark him down for getting where he is expected to finish. So 7 out of 10 for Kvyat for just, solid position in 9th.
Mm-hmm.
Pierre Gasly, though, his second podium, his first race win in F1, in his 3rd season, in AlphaTauri, after the roller coaster ride he's had in the sport and in life. Jesus Christ. It's a 10 out of 10. I'll get the rating out there. It's a 10 out of 10. He went, because they were going for the undercut, when strategy was a thing until everyone pitted. They were going for the undercut, which meant they benefited off the safety car. Had a great restart. Did what he had to. Basically, I said with Lance, all he had to do was be behind Lewis at the first turn and he's won the race. Gasly's done that. Got behind Lewis into the first corner and he's won the race. Well managed. He said he didn't have any tyres left at the end. But he was pushing everything he had on those. On a faster McLaren, I think it's fair to say. And he's won it. All that pressure on him. And he's won a race. It's faultless. 10 out of 10.
It was a brilliant race from Pierre. And look, I think we have to say it. The last time that AlphaTauri, Toro Rosso, won a race was with Sebastian Vettel in 2008. He would go on and become a 4-time world champion with Red Bull. Not saying that Pierre Gasly will go on and do that, but to win a race, even in fortuitous circumstances, in an AlphaTauri midfield team is a superb performance. And for me, he's got to be in that Red Bull seat in 2021 now. If Red Bull want to promote from within, Pierre Gasly has taken it on the chin. He's gone away. He's got a podium in Brazil last year. He's got a race win in Monza this year. Alex Albon, yes, he's been unlucky in 2019 Brazil and in Austria race 1. With those collisions with Hamilton, could we be seeing a different Alexander Albon if he had 2 podiums under his belt? Could we be seeing a different driver? Because confidence is a massive thing. We saw it obviously with Pierre Gasly, his first time round. But I think Alex Albon, when you get given an opportunity in a top seat, you've got to make sure that you shine and stand out. Pierre Gasly didn't do it when he was there the first time round. Alexander Albon's not doing it now. But what Pierre Gasly is doing in an AlphaTauri, Red Bull need to promote him, or I think other top teams will be looking at him.
Yeah.
I think
there aren't any... Yeah, going into 2022, what even Ferrari could be looking at. If they want to get rid of Sainz, okay, it won't be Sainz's fault. But if they have another bad season, they may just go, yeah, let's get in Gasly or something like that. You know, he's won with an Italian team. He's going to be popular with the Tifosi. Yeah, you could have Mercedes. Like, you're going to have a top team looking at Pierre Gasly going, he's a talent we need. So, yeah.
And they pass up on that opportunity, and they have to ask the question, is this, you know, the guy? Do we want Pierre Gasly in that seat, or do we want Alex Albon? And I think it is a serious question up for debate now, and I think that race win put serious pressure on that Red Bull seat going forward. But we round off with Mercedes as per usual, and Lewis Hamilton, it's such a tricky one. It's such an unusual situation for the pit lane to be closed. His team didn't help him. He saw the red boards, but I guess, you know, it's a rule that we don't really see too often. So I can forgive him for that.
He probably just thought it's a safety car thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was 13 seconds in the lead. He then went all the way to the back and was 23 seconds behind the pack. Gained all of that. Managed to work his way up to P7, I believe it was in the end.
P7, yes.
So for me, it's not flawless, but this is what we were talking about in our race review podcast last week. We want to see Lewis Hamilton compete because we know how good he is, and it will only do him benefit of seeing, you know, competitive. And we're going to talk about it more in the race review podcast tomorrow in terms of, you know, what this race meant and shows, you know, the positives that we can see from F1, because we've got incredibly talented drivers in that grid, and we need the cars to be there. And at the end of the day, the teams, it is amazing seeing the engineering difference, but for the competitive of the sport, we probably need a little bit more driver focus.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff that gets people on the edge of their seat.
We had a battle for the lead.
We had a battle for the lead, and that was amazing. And it was an amazing recovery drive from Lewis. So it was a 9 out of 10. And I think credit needs to be given to him. I think I tweeted it out after the race. You know, let's be honest here. It was a great drive from Lewis Hamilton today, even though he's got a P7. It's a 9 out of 10 in that Mercedes, because it was brilliant to see him catch all of that, work his way through the field, where his teammate Valtteri Bottas had damage but had a poor start, dropped back. I don't know what kind of thing that Mercedes was like, we can't see anything. Bottas wasn't happy with the car, so it's difficult. Stephen wants to rate him as low as a 1. Because, well, this is it. This is what we're saying. Lewis Hamilton very rarely slips up. Today was a fortuitous one for his rivals Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas.
What are you rating Lewis?
Lewis is a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
I gave him a 9 out of 10.
I wasn't sure if you said it.
I did. But Max Verstappen, again, not his fault. It's Austria, you know, a chance with the Mercedes. He would have been able to capitalise. It hasn't fallen his way. Had engine issues in both those races where he hasn't been able to capitalise. Would he have capitalised today? I don't know. The Red Bull car just didn't really seem to be...
The pace just didn't look...
It didn't seem at it like it was in, say, like Austria in week 1. But Bottas, he needed to win that race to have any sort of... or the podium at the very least. Even if he had damage to his car, Lewis Hamilton in that situation, do we think he would have just stayed 5th? Mercedes massively helped him out by getting him ahead of Ricciardo and Perez. And then, but he just couldn't compete. Could not compete for the rest of the race. And I'm going to 4 out of 10 because I don't know the extent of the damage to go from there. But Bottas hasn't driven a good race. And again, Valtteri Bottas just
P5.
he
How
can,
many points has he gained on Lewis today? Like 2? Because Lewis got the fastest.
he probably
point.
still isn't second in the championship.
No, I think he. Ooh.
Oh yeah, actually no, he probably is.
Yeah, how many do you get for 5th? 10 points?
Yeah, you definitely get more. So he definitely is second in the championship because I think he was only 3 points behind Max.
Yeah.
But
he's only gained, because Lewis got the bonus point for fastest lap, so he's only gained like 2 or 3 points on Lewis.
it's a bit like, the problem is, Albon's a young driver, so he can be better. He can develop. We've seen it with Pierre. Pierre rightly was criticised when he was in that Red Bull seat. I think Alex Albon's rightly being criticised now, but they're young drivers. They can go away, they can develop, and they can improve. Valtteri Bottas is meant to be the finished article. He is meant to be the best driver he can possibly be, and he can't compete with Lewis Hamilton. And that is perfectly all right when you've got other teams competing. And Mercedes, they don't have to do this. But I think we look at it and go, it's such a shame that a young George Russell isn't going into that seat. Pierre Gasly isn't maybe going into that seat, with the performances that he is showing. And yeah, really disappointing from Valtteri Bottas today. But again, guys, that is it for driver ratings today. We would love to hear in the comments down below what your driver ratings were in what was probably the best race of the season so far. I think it does top. Well, it is.
Yes, it is. I don't think there's a question.
No. It tops Austria. It certainly does. Just brilliant race all round. Absolutely brilliant race. So, yeah, that is it from us. So if you're new around here or haven't done so already, Stephen, you're up.
You can like, you can subscribe, and you can ding that bell.
Ding that bell. But that's it from us today, guys. So for now, UF1 fans, keep racing.